Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mika and Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host, Caliban, and it's another Usagi Minako jam!
They should have their own theme song.
Did
you just give them their own theme song?
No, I think that's Celebrate by Kool and the Gang. They couldn't clear that. I feel like we've been excited. Well, I've been excited in the past when we've done an Usagi Minago.
Yeah.
Works. Isn't that egg?
Tamago. Close.
Why don't you take the show back over?
All right. And we're a couple of magical people ready to moon crystal power make up this episode. Sailor Noob is brought to you by adorable small children.
You almost slipped there.
What?
It's crystal power.
I know. I did almost slip there. You know why? Habit.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. I mean, it's been prism power for a long time. Although, ironically, prism is a type of crystal. No, that's not necessarily true.
Well, a crystal has a prism, or can have a prism.
Actually, no, they're not really related at all in any way. Crystal's just, a crystal grows as a mineral, and then I suppose a crystal could be so pure that it would provide prismatic effects. But if we're talking about, like, a scientific prism, that's like, poured from glass and ground or another material, I suppose. I was
super into rocks as a kid. And I had is that weird? You weren't expecting that.
I feel like that might explain a lot about you.
I had I got crystal growing kits for Christmas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really liked rocks a lot. Anyways.
I did a science project in fourth or fifth grade of growing stalactites.
That's awesome.
Well, it's awesome, but it wasn't. It was all my mom's idea, like most of my projects in school.
Oh.
I didn't really.
Was it
care
stuff that your mom thought you would be interested in?
No, it's stuff that she did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the 50s when she was a schoolgirl, she probably did growing stalactites too. So I remember the science fair was won by another girl in my class who I had a crush on because she was cute, but it never occurred to me that she was smart, which is institutional sexism. I blame the institution.
Wow.
And it was about how she did a study about just spit it out about how would things taste, or flavors, do they taste different if they have a different color?
Oh.
And so she would do grape, strawberry, and find I'm not sure how she did it because I wasn't good at science back then, but she found a way to make a yellow strawberry, or a green grape or something like that.
Sure.
And then it's all subjective, of course. I mean, it's still science, and find if people's reactions were different based on the color of something. Do you just drink a sweet purple thing and you go, oh, I'm having grape, I'm having fun, and it's maybe not as grapey as something else could be.
That's interesting.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
I wonder who gave it to her. Based on my experience.
Wow.
Her mom is really smart.
Wow.
Just before we get started in the show today, I want to remind people that our Patreon is live now, and we've got things running. We've got content up there. We've got outtakes from the show. We've got our other podcast, an entirely different podcast called Anime Edification. It should have been 2 words, but it's animetification.
It's animetification.
We're going to have to stick with it now.
We're tripping over ourselves.
The ink has dried.
Yeah.
But and we've got that available as well as other stuff. And we've been having fun. And we've got a patron that we wanted to thank for joining the Patreon. Her name is Sarah Westerling.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah. So we're off and rolling. And if you want to get involved, you can at patreon.com/Sailor Noob.
Yes.
Not moon, noob.
Sailor Noob.
Crystal, not prism.
Yeah, exactly. We've got to
Noob,
make sure we got our words right.
Unless it's different.
Today we are talking about episode number 52. Nera wa reta enji, Venusu Daikatsuyaku in Japanese. The Targeted Kindergartners, Venus to the Rescue, the English translation, and the English title, Kindergarten Chaos. At least it wasn't Kindergarten Blues.
It could have been.
Yeah.
It very well could have been.
Yeah, I know.
But there are points in the episode that are certainly chaotic.
Yes. Would you like to give us a synopsis?
It's going to be a chaotic recap.
Okay, that's fine.
But I'll try. There's a lot of story. There's a lot of like things going on.
Yeah.
And characters interacting and we're learning things.
Absolutely.
But that's good. We open on an FAO Schwartz. No, wait. It's just Minako's bedroom and she has like a million large stuffed animals. Yeah. Her room is just a bed, minimal furniture, and a plush wildlife reserve of stuffed animals in all colors.
Pretty much.
A little weird.
And an actual cat.
Dig too far. It's not rocks. Right. So I guess we're one level up.
Hey, wow.
And Minako is asleep. It's morning. And Artemis is sleeping next to her. Little kitty paws over the comforter.
I know.
It's cute.
It is.
The stillness is broken when Minako, in the throes of some dream, reaches out and squeezes Artemis in a tight embrace. And she says, Alan. And Artie is like, ah! And she sees that she's late. And she's like, ah! And then we get a VO from Artie. We switch to like, ever since I was a moon cat, I always wanted to be an earth cat. And he says, my name is Artemis, and I'm a cat that speaks English. While he's doing this, we get a few lines from Minako establishing that it's Artie himself that keeps turning off the clock, I guess. So she's late like Usagi, but it's Artie's fault.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, he's watching her change into her school uniform. Uh-huh. And she doesn't want him watching her.
Yep.
And it's
and she calls
weird,
him a pervert.
But it also should be addressed that he's the only boy on the team.
Yep.
He identifies as male. And he's a cat.
Yeah.
So, hey, show, we don't have to explore everything in this world.
I know, right? And like, this is something this does come up in the Sailor V manga as well.
What?
Yeah, like she gets mad at him for like watching her change, like in the manga.
What?
So yeah, she calls him a pervert. And,
if tune into the Sailor Noob Patreon if you want more information about what goes on in these insane comics. We're gonna just deal with that there, I guess. But anyway, out on the street, on the beat, Minako and Artemis are running, and Artie continues with his VO. This is my longtime partner, Minako, a.k.a. Sailor Venus. She seems dependable, but looks can be deceiving. And Minako says, shortcut! And the two of them start flying? We don't really know what's going on. And Artie says, she should have more hidden powers, but I wish she was more dependable. You're flying, furball. What more do you want? You can fly. I'm shook. I have no idea what's going on, but this is just the teaser.
Yeah.
As we come back, we see that Minako's flight is just her jumping over a wall, like an embankment between her street and a street that's below. Very dangerous.
Yeah, right. It's like a pole vault.
Especially because we get a little upskirt from Minako as she lands on top of Artie.
I know.
I do not know what's happening.
I know.
Minako notices some kindergarten toughs giving a hard time to a little girl. These are bad kids who are 5 or 6 years old.
I know.
It's funny how a cartoon can make a 5-year-old menacing, but the shorter of the two tells the little girl, give me that badge. And the girl refuses, and the taller one, who is either older or some kind of pituitary case, says, yeah, give it over. Ora, 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 ora.
Yeah.
Minako runs over and says, hey, leave her alone. And the toughs are like, an old lady, cheese it. And they run off. And the little girl's like, oh, thanks for helping me. Can you walk me to the bus stop? And Minako's like, you were faking it? I don't have time to walk you. And the little girl's like, you're so mean. So Minako's like, fine, let's run. And they make it to the Shiba kindergarten bus.
Yes.
And I should mention that the badge they're talking about is on this girl's sweater, and it's a Sailor Moon.
Yes.
Decal or iron-on or whatever you want.
Right.
Merchandising rights.
I know, right?
But wait a minute. People do remember Sailor Moon.
Well, now she's been back for a while now.
But so she's been back for like 2 weeks, and they fire up the merchant. It doesn't make any sense, but we're going to get into it. First, I have a question you can't answer. Yellow buses in Japan?
Yes, I think so. So
that's like the universal bus color?
Yeah,
school bus?
There are not a lot of school buses in Japan.
No, come on. What if you live out in the sticks like we talked about?
So, like, the majority of kids like walk to school, and there's like there are neighborhoods organized groups to walk to school. So you have a meeting spot, and the parents bring the kids to the meeting spot at a
That's
specific
a good idea.
time.
They could use that in this episode. And we'll get into that as well.
Yeah, right.
Artie is like, I don't think we're going to make it on time, but let's run. Mm-hmm. And they do, catching up, unsurprisingly, to Usagi Tsukino, who is also late.
Yeah.
And if you were worried we wouldn't be playing the aphorism malapropism game, worry not, because Minako says, in spring one sleeps a sleep that knows no damn. But Artie says, it's in spring one sleeps a sleep that knows no dawn. Okay, this has frustrated us, but theory, I think I've cracked this.
Okay.
We know the girls are studying English. They're in English too.
Yeah, right.
I think that these are examples of the girls attempting to say proverbs or aphorisms in English and messing them up.
Wrong.
Like specifically the switching of dawn for damn is the tip off. You know, it's just based turning the M upside. I don't know if like Manako's dyslexic, assuming she's not because they've done this bit over and over again.
They have.
Maybe it's something like that. Now, I know they're not saying them in English in dialogue, but maybe it's just a convenience so they aren't talking in English all the time on a show that's for Japanese kids.
Yeah, that could be too. I can see that.
But I don't know. That's what I think.
Okay.
That's my going theory right now.
Sure.
Clearly, we're going to have a chance to reevaluate that because they're just going to keep doing this.
Yeah, I know.
So now we're past the point where we're going to be surprised by it and mystified, and now we start make theories. That's what we do.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, Minako says, well, I got to go this way because we go to different schools.
Yeah.
And she peels off, but she doesn't make it in time. I'm guessing because she's standing outside the gate of the school. I don't know if they lock the gate like when classes start in Japanese school, but she looks like she seems dejected that she's on the outside of the gate.
Yeah,
and it's like
it's unclear. Yeah.
Well, Artie breaks in talking to the audience again, and he says, she's actually gotten a lot better, but she's a handful. Okay, all right, this better be going somewhere. Cutting back to Juban Jr., Usagi is holding a bucket of water, and she's wearing a sign that says, I'm always late for class. And she says, boy, it sucks that I have to stand here during recess. What is this sucks in Japanese? Because I feel like the answer is a lot more complicated than you would think.
I don't know that.
And I think you just writing down, find out this sucks in Japanese, is passing over how complicated it would be. Because first of all, you have to ask yourself this. What is it sucking? And I think the implication of what it's sucking is a little more advanced for this kid Toonami cartoon. Do you know what I mean? Like it barely means that anymore, but that's what it means.
I know.
Oh, it sucks eggs. That's something you came up with to lessen, the effect of it. So I wonder if the Japanese have, that's something you can look up. If the Japanese have an expression like that, or if they say, this ducks, because they just can't get these sayings right. She's approached by Sajiro, a.k.a. Ail, who says, oh, your sorrowful eyes are bewitching. Not the time. It's not the time.
No.
But Usagi's actually okay with this, weirdly. Just a note, Ail's human name is Alan in the Deke dub, so that's confusing. I can't remember.
Very confusing.
I can't remember if Manako's Alan had a different name in the Deke dub, but that makes it really confusing.
Episode was cut in the dub.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So they're just harvesting names.
She's definitely talking about Alan from England, who she's still harboring feelings for, even though she said she was moving on. I mean, a little one-dimensional, but yeah.
We got to reestablish.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I know, I was confused by that too.
Anne sees all this going down and is like, what's going on, brother? And he's like, oh, nothing's moving on. I'm moving on. Woo. And Usagi's like, these kids are weird.
And it's like,
so that's how it is in their family.
Yeah. I want to see that so bad.
On the roof, I'll work on that meme right now. On the roof, Ail tries to tell Anne about the new energy collecting operation, but Anne won't let him change the subject, accusing him of chasing Usagi. And Ail says, oh, no, baby, it's all part of my plan.
Right.
And Anne says, right, well, I've got a plan to get the youngest and the freshest energy possible. We're hitting a nursery.
I know. I'm like,
no.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's probably going to be a kindergarten.
Yeah.
Based on the title. We got to after school. Minako was walking the streets, and on those streets, there's a playground where now 3 kindergarten toughs are roughing up the girl we saw before. She says, there is too a Sailor Moon. Minako rolls up and says, hey, you guys be nice to her. But the kids are like, keep your nose out of this, old lady.
I know.
You clearly got too much time on your hands. You need a boyfriend. Of course, you're too ugly. And Minako puts her finger to the kid's head and says, crescent beam! No, just kidding. JK. But she's not happy, and the kids see that, and they run away. And the little girl says, thanks, I'm Mie, and I'm in the tulip class at Shiba Kindergarten. Stranger danger, kid. Go, just give him a home address while you're at it. Minako and Artie introduce themselves, and Minako sees that Mie has a Sailor Moon badge or, decal on her sweater.
Yes.
And Minako's like, wow, you're a Sailor Moon fan? Do you like Sailor Venus? And Mie's like, who's that? Womp womp.
I know.
Mie says, does Sailor Moon really exist? And Minako's like, you believe that she's real, right? That's what's important. She's not Santa Moon. She's not, she did exist, but we're still kind of trying to figure this out.
Santa, I'm just trying to picture Usagi in her uniform.
There's fan art somewhere.
With like a Santa beard.
It exists.
Well, I've seen her with a Santa hat and everything, but I'm picturing the Santa beard.
Mie asks if she knows Sailor Moon, and Minako says, sure, I've even met her. And Artie's like, uh-oh. And Mie says, can you come to my kindergarten and talk to those boys tomorrow? And Minako says, sure, I'll teach your kids to have childlike innocence. And Mie's like, yeah, if we don't believe in anything now, we'll regret it when we're older. And Mina and Artie are like, what? How old is this kid? And all through the episode, we get this. These kids are like spouting all this like adult wisdom.
I know.
And the character's always like, what? What are you talking about? In the space room, on the tree, Ail says, okay, let's hear your plan. We need energy. And An says, let's get fresh energy from young children. And Ail's like, creepy. I love it. And they pick a card again, and Ail plays on his flute, and they summon Gigaroos. It's a weird angel-looking Yoma.
Yep.
Across town, a pink bus from Kari Kindergarten is tooling across town. The kids inside are singing a happy counting song. It's going to get dark. When above the bus, we see the shadow of a winged form, and a long-nailed hand touches the roof of the bus. There's an explosion. And inside the bus, the young children are traumatized by the sight of Gigaroo, a winged, toga-ed Yoma.
Yes.
She's got super red Saiyan hair. Mm-hmm. She's got red super Saiyan hair. And with a Gigaroo, she steals the energy of the whole bus. In the space room, the Makai tree bursts alive with light, and Ail and An are loving it. What's next? Oh, let's steal the energy of puppies and kittens.
I know.
Let's take literal embryos. Just
oh, no.
I don't like where this is going.
No.
It's an escalation.
Yes.
At Hikaru Shrine, Ami, Rei, Makoto, and Luna are reading in the paper about the bus attack yesterday. See? Superheroes can't stop crime. They're not even a deterrent. Defund the superheroes.
Oh my gosh, no!
The girls are pissed. Makoto especially is pissed.
Yeah.
And Ami uses her RoboCop computer to calculate the next target. I don't know, with a 67% probability.
I know, right?
Maybe it doesn't work at all. And it's going to be, you guessed it, Shiba Kindergarten.
Yeah.
The girls are determined to stop this menace. It's really convenient that Minako's not here, but we need a show.
Yep.
And as they're getting ready, they're steeling themselves for this. Usagi's laughing at a funny manga she's reading.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, show, I've got your number. Yes, we needed a beat like this right now. You've done this one before. It was the Rhett Butler episode. You did this.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, the girls are like, fight hard for us, idiot. Which means that, I'm going to guess, Usagi's going undercover as a pretty kindergarten teacher? Yeah. Is there a sticker in my future?
Well, I don't. You've already watched the episode, so I don't know. Does that count?
Not when I write these when I watch the episode, scene by scene.
Well, I would like a process for me to get stickers as well. I'm just saying. At
Shiba Kindergarten, a weird random 14-year-old is addressing the class. Oh, I guess it's Minako.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know why she's. Hey, we don't. Lunchtime's over. Sure, bring her in.
Yeah, I know.
Telling them that Sailor Moon and Sailor Venus are really real. And Mie adds that believing in them is what's important. You'll see them one day if you believe.
Yeah.
The kids are not into this.
No.
And they say, wow, lady, are you going through a hardship or something? Must be nice to be a grown-up, pushing your hardships onto children and living in a fantasy world. What are they teaching these kids?
I know.
Is this your midlife crisis? The kindergarten teacher finally comes up. Smoke breaks over. She finally comes over to break this up. And she says, it's time to go home. Oh, by the way, I won't be with you on the bus today. Will there be anybody on the bus?
I know.
Minako says, I can take your place on the bus. You have no idea who I am. And the teacher's like, oh, okay. And we wonder why so many kids go missing in Tokyo.
Oh, my goodness.
Across the street, Luna and Usagi see the bus, and Luna says, transform already. And Usagi transforms into a, correction, sweet and stylish kindergarten teacher. Bam, 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 bam. I'll share which one I get at the end of the episode. I still get a sticker. And stylish won't be tough for Usagi and the pen because the real teacher is in like a sweatshirt and mom jeans. Like the show really throws her under the bus hard. I know. And Usagi's kind of right there with her because when she transforms, she gets basically the same outfit. It's a pink sweatshirt and unstyled shoulder-length hair. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect, like, Mrs. Coulter, but come on, the disguise pen used, like, 1% of its power on this one.
Barely even tried.
The pen is not feeling this one.
No.
The bus starts to take off. Usagi runs up to the bus with a, hey, I'm a new teacher. Let me aboard. How many kids get abducted in Tokyo every year? This is what I need to know. As we've seen in the past, the disguise pen is more of a costume pen than a shape-shifting pen. So Minako is like, Usagi, what the hell?
Yeah. She recognized her right away.
We skip back to the tree quick, and Ail tells Gigaru to go back and get me some more energy. Get me some more of those energy bonbons.
Yeah, right.
Back on the bus, Minako and Usagi are leading the kids in a sing-along of Moonlight Densetsu. Here's another piece of the puzzle. This answers something else for us.
Oh.
This song is not connected to Sailor Moon in any way in their world. Now, we know we saw Naru and Usagi singing it for their talent show practice in episode 7. It exists in their world, but Naru wasn't specifically a Sailor Moon fan at that point. I think she'd stopped like one jewelry store robbery, but it was kind of confusing about what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, you know, it doesn't really solve our problem of, like, did people remember Sailor Moon? But the song not guilty. Got to Feel Me. Has nothing to do with it's just a song in their world.
I don't think that
and then for some
Sailor
reason
Moon is mentioned in the song.
Some reason, right. But I mean, does it have to be?
But I know what
Sailor
you're saying.
Sailor Moon, she's gonna do the thing tonight.
I know.
Actually, in the American dub, it is.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I said that.
So we already answered this question, but remind me of the answer. What do they sing in the Deke dub then?
Well, for the bus scene.
Sure.
They sing Wheels on the Bus because they can't sing.
What do they
sing
in episode 7? When they do for the talent show?
They actually do sing the English version of the theme.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
It doesn't really matter because nobody tracks the Deke dub.
No.
So in their world, it's just Sailor Moon's. The merchandisers got to it earlier than in the Japanese version.
Right.
So she has a theme to go with her toys and her everything else.
Right, exactly.
That means that, somebody could just write a song. Maybe it was the piano guy, because that was the episode before that, right? Maybe he just wrote her a theme on his CD that's got a picture of a silhouette of Sailor Moon on it.
Yeah, the only...
Headcanon.
The only issue with that was that episode with the musician was cut for the Deke dub.
All right, well,
I don't know.
Then in the Deke continuity, Sailor Moon gets her own merchandising and presumably a series before Sailor Venus does, which makes Usagi seem really petty when she sees the commercial for Sailor V and she's like, "Oh, Sailor V's getting an anime." It's more like competition instead of admiration.
I guess. That's one way of looking at it, yeah.
That was Headcanon Corner. Cal's Headcanon Corner. Cal's Cabeza Canon Corner. We want to K sounds.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, this whole time, and here's, you want the last thing that'll bake your noodle?
What?
This whole time, we cut to Artie, and he's like, sweat drop. What are they thinking? Like, they're going to give away their identities or something like that? By singing this song?
Good point.
So forget everything I just said, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Don't mess with a comics fan as far as continuity goes. You're going to lose. The bus goes through a tunnel, and in its path, we see Gigaru, who jumps through the windshield of the bus, and the bus spins out on the road. Mia says, "I'm scared," and Minako says, "Don't worry, I'm sure Sailor Moon will save us." And Usagi's like, "Yeah, she'll help us." And then she and Artemis just run at Gigaru, like, not transformed.
I know.
And they get pimp slapped to the ground. Usagi, You are Sailor Moon.
I know, right?
What's the plan?
I think she wanted to be out of eyesight from the kids and transform.
She luckily gets like smacked out of the bus, like through the door.
Yeah, I don't think she planned that.
Right. There's no way she planned that.
Yeah.
But it is convenient because she Moon Crystal Power makeups into Sailor Moon.
Yes.
In the bus, Gigaru advances on the children, but from outside the bus we hear, "You who prey upon the future of the 21st century, you can't get away with making us worry about old age." Is that what this is about?
I'm so confused. They keep talking about how Minako is so old and Usagi, I guess, is part of that too. And I just don't see that.
Nostalgia makes you feel young, and that's what we're supposed to get here, I guess. But anyway, in the name of the moon, I'll punish you. Gigaru busts out of the bus. You had him in the bus. I would have stayed in the bus if that was you. Right. Bad move. But she does that. She throws tornadoes at Usagi, who does her dodging thing. And the bully boy says, "Is she going to be okay? She doesn't seem very tough." And Minako takes this chance to slip out of the bus. This is more of a Spider-Man move.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? And transforms off-screen into Sailor Venus. Just as Gigaru is going to slash Sailor Moon with her giant claws, we get a crescent beam from Venus that blasts the Yoma back. And the kids see Sailor Venus and they're like, cool. No cool for Sailor Moon. Gigaru is not finished, however, and she emits some kind of blast from her body that the sailors just kind of avoid. I think the animators got kind of lazy. It's just like, I'm doing something. Whoa, she's doing something.
What is the thing?
Venus tries another beam, but the Yoma sort of deflects it and knocks them down with another blast. Body blast. It looks bad, and the kids are like, don't give up! And Gigaru dashes at Venus. We're in trouble. But a white rose sinks into the pavement, and we hear an Arabic-sounding oboe theme. The Moonlight Knight is leaning against the side of the bus. Like a kid with smoking and a leather jacket in school. And the kids are getting a real education on superheroes today.
I know.
And he says, once you pass through the tunnel of despair, you'll see the Garden of Hope. What is going on today?
I don't know
what's going on. But he says, believe in yourself. Okay, all right.
Now we're back. Right. Okay.
Venus says, yes, believe in myself. And the knight says, you have a powerful ally who believes in you. And he gestures to the kids on the bus who are chanting Venus and Moon's names.
Yeah.
Gigaru is taking 5, I presume. Smoke break for Gigaru while this is going on. Venus gets up and says, these kids taught me how important it is to believe. And she goes like Super Saiyan, I think. She goes like, ah.
It looks very Dragon Ball, right?
Yeah. And she fires
straight up,
a powered-up crescent beam shower. Her beam splits into hundreds of beams which surround and restrain Gigaru. And Usagi gives us a Moon Princess elimination or halation, and it's curtains for Gigaru. The children rejoice. The knight says, there you go. Adieu. And Artie says, you've unlocked a new power, Minako. And Minako says, we owe it all to the kids. And the girls run off to presumably sign a ton of autographs. This is where having your merchandising rights would really come in handy. T-shirt sales. Merch.
Sailor Moon.
The Sailor Moon
TM.
mobile pulls up. Back doors open. And you just make that bread.
Yeah, right.
Artie,
exactly.
Get on that, Artie. You can program a video game. You can do that. You can start a Teespring store.
Yeah. Desserts, manga, and video games for days.
He takes over Game Center Crown and fires Motoki. Motoki's just outside like, oh, looking through the window.
Oh, no.
Game
so
Center
sad.
Artemis.
What was your sticker?
My sticker was, what do you call this? A wreath? It's a profile.
It's like
cameo.
A crescent. It's like a cameo, but like a wreath that's like a crescent moon.
With Usagi looking to the side.
Yeah.
This is Usagi from a later series, I think, because she's got things that I haven't seen before, and it's all a mystery. Yeah, and then there's like a wreath or a wreath of flowers.
It's more or less a wreath. Yeah, the crescent moon looking
like
wreath.
the thing that Caesar wears.
Oh, what is
laurel?
A laurel. Yeah, that's a better word for it. Yeah, it's cool looking.
It is cool.
It's pretty.
Here's something else that's cool. We get a very Superman-ish kind of thing here, where we get the hey, you're friends with Superman, right? It's like, oh yeah, we're friends. My name's Clark Kent. Yeah, I know Superman.
Right.
And then it kind of splits because normally Superman would only it depends on what era, if we're reading like the 50s era, it's, you know, it's that pesky Lois Lane is always trying to get Superman to marry her. She's going to prove he's Clark Kent. So it's all about Lex Luthor's just, he's taking over the moon and Superman's just busy trying to fool Lois Lane for some reason.
Yeah.
Right. Not a lot of weight there, but Superman is usually trying to throw people off the trail or needing to appear in two places at once, either using a Superman robot, which I still think Minako or Mamoru has a Moonlight Knight robot or something.
Okay, sure.
We'll see. But yeah, or then there's a Spider-Man thing where he can't be in two places at once, and so that is a continual source of frustration for his reputation, because as soon as the looter attacks the museum and everybody's scared, you know, Gwen's like, Peter, let's get out of here. And the Peter? Coward ran off already. And of course, Spider-Man swings in, beats the looter, wraps him up, gift wraps him for the police. And then later on, Peter's like, oh, as I ran away, I was so scared. And he can't take the credit for being the hero that Gwen admires.
Right. You just can't.
And that doesn't, it's not a focus of this show. That's fine. It doesn't really happen. But every once in a while we get things like this where they have to sort of, oh yeah, we have secret identities. Yeah, that's right. And so they have to sort of play against the drama. And yeah, it's just, you know, I kind of wondered if it was going to be more of a problem having two sailors on a bus. Where do you transform?
Yes.
And I wondered if they do this happens in the comics, but I'll point to a film, a Spider-Man 2 thing where Tobey Maguire loses his mask as he's stopping the subway train. But it doesn't matter because, you know, one of the guys even says, like, it's just a kid. Like, it's not like we thought it would be George Clooney or somebody recognizable, and it's just a brown-haired kid in a city of 8 million people. Like, losing your mask isn't that big of a deal necessarily, unless, you know, you run into somebody at the M&M store that you saved on a subway train. But even then, they don't know your name or anything like that. So
Right.
It isn't this thing where like, oh no, they took a picture of me without my mask
over.
on.
Right, exactly.
With a 1950s camera with the flash bulb. That's they're really going to know who I am now. Now a digital video and, you know, 60 frames a second, you might be in trouble if somebody caught a little glimpse of you without a mask.
Yeah.
Well, like Vicky Vale takes pictures of Batman when he gets his mask pulled off by the Joker's goons in the 1989 movie. And she's like 8 stories up with like an old-timey 30s camera because it's like a period piece.
Yeah. Or
they're using period stuff. Mm-hmm. He's like, I need that film. It's like, yeah, I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's not like a zoom lens on that thing.
No.
Oh my God, Batman is a pink blob.
But it's funny too because I think like Minako plays a little fast and loose with it, right? Because she's all like, oh yeah, I know Sailor Moon. I could talk about it. And Artie's just sitting there kind of like not so silently freaking out.
And not to make one more superhero movie reference, but it's a little bit of a play on her vanity because...
Yeah, it is.
She never puts anybody in danger, but she, you know, wants to impress the kids and be seen as a hero in their eyes. And that just like Sailor Moon. And we get that in Spider-Man Homecoming where Peter... because of what I described before, is sick and tired of being seen as a nobody and getting one-upped by Flash. And so he's going to show up at this party as Spider-Man. Now, he can't pull off his mask and go, I'm Peter Parker, everybody, but at least he can get some vicarious sort of satisfaction in having people, you know, feel his muscles or whatever as Spider-Man.
Right. Do some superhero flexing, if you will.
Yeah. Well, that comes with the territory.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any questions about this episode?
I think we covered it.
Okay.
That's what we're just doing, right?
All right. Yeah. All right.
Does Minako go to a nicer school than Usagi? Like, her school is manor-ish.
Manor-ish? I mean...
Does Minako have parents?
Minako have parents?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
She does. I don't think we've seen them yet. In the anime,
they'll get kidnapped in some episode.
But I mean,
we'll meet them / they'll be kidnapped.
Do you want to know more about her parents?
Of course not. I just didn't know if we had been told on screen or something.
She has parents, but she's an only child. I'll tell you that.
So
much.
when she went to London, was she studying abroad?
That's a fantastic question.
There's your movie.
Peace out, Mom and Dad.
There's your movie right there.
Right, exactly. I want to go to England to study English.
Why are you asking us in English?
Yeah, I know, right? Like right now, because it's very important right now.
They say a stitch in time saves mine.
I
the parents are like, if only we had a talking cat that could fix this girl.
And Artie's there. Meow, 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 meow.
Your Honor, a courtroom is a crucible. In it we burn away irrelevancies until we are left with a pure product, the truth, for all time.
Oh man, this is so intense. Data's on trial for his life.
I know. This episode, The Measure of a Man, is based on the Supreme Court's Dred Scott decision of 1857.
And every week on Backtracking, we take a look at the real-world events that inspired classic Star Trek episodes. Sorry.
Shut up! Shh. Who are you?
We're the hosts of Backtracking. I'm Caliban.
You will both be taken to the brig and from there to the nearest starbase, where you will answer charges for what you have done.
And I'm Gooey Fame.
This is not a game. This is life and death.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Backtracking is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
You go f*** yourself.
For Kyoro Miru, or Curiously Looking Around, where we talk about elements with Japanese culture within the episode, today I thought we would talk about kindergarten and elementary school in Japan.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So kindergarten is a little different in Japan. Yochien offers 3, 2, and 1 year programs, which are intended for 3, 4, and 5-year-old kids, respectively. Yochien is the equivalent of preschool through kindergarten, with the final year or 1 year program being the most equivalent to kindergarten in the West.
And is there, you won't know the answer to this. Is there public school in Japan? The reason it's public school is that we all pay for it through property tax in our communities, right?
Yeah.
So like when you say that you can sign up for like different levels or like brands of like kindergarten or your preschool or elementary education, like are you going to be then in like some different school, like a magnet school or something like that, or an academy?
There are public schools in Japan. Most Japanese yochien are privately run. Yochien are mostly staffed by young female junior college graduates and are
who are really relaxed. They're in very, very loose, relaxed clothing. They're just taking it easy.
I guess. And they're supervised by the Ministry of Education, but are not part of the official education system. In other words, yochien is not compulsory.
So this is like.
This is optional.
Yeah, this is like Montessori, like early. I mean, it sounds like daycare a little bit.
There's another thing that's like daycare.
Oh,
so this is different from
up.
daycare. But anyways, in addition to yochien, I guess I'm getting to it right now. There is a system of government supervised nursery schools called hoikuen, which are operated by the Ministry of Labor. Hoikuen, so they're essentially like daycares or nurseries in the West. Mm-hmm. Together, these two types of institutions enroll 86% of Japanese children at age 3 and 99% at age 5 prior to their entrance into the formal Japanese education system in the first grade. Most yochien run for 4 hours a day and lunchtime and are finished by early afternoon. Children who attend yochien typically have a relative who can watch them in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. The percentage of enrollment in yochien and hoikuen has shifted over the years as more and more working mothers utilize the hoikuen instead of the yochien. Many yochien, especially private ones, are pressured to give extended hours in order to stay in operation. Huh. Private yochien, so in other words, like, I'm not going to keep having my kid go to you unless you extend your hours so I don't have to have somebody else watch my kid, more or less. Yeah. Private yochien, which makes up about 60%, obtain less public funding than public yochien do and have to depend mostly on tuition fees from parents. The key deliberations on selecting a yochien for your child typically come from brand conscientiousness, or in other words, whether the school is ninki ga aru, or popular or not.
Okay, so everything that I said at the beginning, brands.
I guess, yeah, it is a brand thing. Yeah. Whether your child's Peers are in the neighborhood will be going to a particular school. And convenience. For example, does the school provide school buses, and will parents have to make lunches every day? Japanese preschool and kindergarten education is child-centered and built upon the principle of, quote, whole person education, which centers on emotional and social development, responsibility, and friendship.
Okay. Sounds good.
In 1989, a new method of teaching yochien, which was partially an effect of the education reform movement in the 1980s, went into effect, and yochien shifted from planned classroom teaching to child-centered education with very little mediation from teachers. Children learn social skills by playing, while teachers build optimal environments for their growth and observe their activities. At yochien, kids develop their creativity and sensitivity through playing music, crafts, drawing, dancing, taking care of animals and plants, and making friends. Kids learn about responsibility and cooperation by participating in small groups called han in activities. Peer interaction enhances their social skills. Teachers do not intervene a lot, rarely reprimanding or disciplining mischievous behavior.
What?
Yep.
So what we saw is like totally legit. Like, there's no Sailor Moon. Give us that badge.
Yeah, and it's probably
let her learn.
It's probably even worse than that when it first starts out. Teachers let children play and resolve their own conflicts.
Man.
So.
Don't come to school tomorrow.
Yeah, right. It's not what you would necessarily think of when you think of Japan and education.
No, I would think of like authoritative or at least uniform, like a uniform response, right? So look at Usagi. She's holding the bucket all the time. You know what it is. You're late. You get the bucket. And then maybe we'll put a little jazz on the bucket. You know, we'll fill it with spiders or something, or make you wear a sign that says, "I got a real problem with being punctual." Right.
Well, and I think part of it too. I've heard this, and maybe there's a shift from this, but because school is such a hard thing for kids, especially as they get older and they have to start studying for entrance exams.
Sure.
So a lot of times really young children tend to be doted upon, perhaps spoiled.
But not here.
Yeah. So just as a brief comparison, in American kindergarten, about 30% of class time is allotted to teaching academic subject matter. And in Chinese kindergartens, this goes down to about 20%. And in Japanese kindergartens, less than 5% of class time is spent on academic subject matter.
But this is if they're young.
They're really young.
Teach a kid?
Yeah. I know.
I was coloring ducks, basically, when I was that age.
Yeah. I got in trouble because I colored the turkey waddle like magenta or purple or something like that. And my kindergarten teacher brought it up at a conference and was like, I don't know why she colored it that. And my mom was like, because she wanted to.
Oh, if I can go back in time, Hitler live and let live, I would bring a baseball bat to your kindergarten teacher's house. I don't know what that's all about.
I know. Anyways, in 1886, the modern elementary school system started as compulsory education in Japan. Until 1947, only elementary schools were compulsory.
So 1886, this is 20 years or so after the Meiji period began. So they're getting around to, I should make everybody go to school.
Elementary school is called shogakko in Japanese. Sho means first and gakko means school. So it means first school, essentially. Japanese children start first grade in elementary school in the April after their 6th birthday. Because, school year starts in April.
Huh. It's only a year, I guess, but that's relatively late, right? Because kindergartners start 5 or 6, depending on when your birthday is. But they start in April, and you have to be 6
You
by
have to
April.
be 6.
So it's another 6 months, I guess.
Yeah. Today, almost all elementary schooling takes place in public schools. Tuition to these schools is free. However, families have to pay for school supplies, lunch, and non-school expenses such as extra books or lessons.
Sure.
Less than 1% of elementary schools are private, partially because of their fees. Some private elementary schools are distinguished, and they serve as a first step to higher-level private schools, sometimes universities, with which they are associated.
That's that private elementary school.
Right, yes, exactly. Competition to enter some of these schools is very intense.
And since we taught the kids to work it out for themselves, it's bike chains and pipes.
Right? So competition is stiff and it starts at an extremely young age for some Japanese children whose families put large sums of money into preparing them for entrance exams for distinguished elementary schools that will get students ready for premier secondary schools or universities. Yes, you heard me. That's right. Entrance
the
first
grade entrance exam.
And
where are your feet?
Yeah, exactly. Japan's 52 national universities have 73 elementary schools associated with them. And
so this is a full on. This is the kindergarten to college track.
And for a lot of people, yeah. It's like if you want your kid to go to Waseda University.
Maybe it's Mad Max in preschool because every single second of their lives for the next 16 years are laid out for them.
Yes, a little bit. It is a little bit of that. That's what I guess I was trying to say.
Wow.
Yeah. So we talked about students taking entrance exams for college and universities, for universities specifically before. They have to take entrance exams to get into high schools too. Everybody does. And I think for some junior highs, they have to as well. I'm not 100% sure if it's every junior high. But this is a long and arduous process and is referred to as juken in Japanese, which literally translates to, quote, taking an examination. But juken is specifically in reference to entrance exams, and the term would perhaps be more accurately translated as exam hell.
Wait, how do you get
I've heard
out
it
of entrance exam?
Well, I've heard it referred to as people say juken, and they're like, exam hell. So that's kind of how they use it, because students will disappear while they're studying for these exams.
Yeah, as we talked about in the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
It's a very intense time. For studying activities for an entrance exam for young children trying to get into prestigious elementary school, the word juken is usually prefixed with O, making it ojuken. When you see an O prefix before a Japanese word, this is known as word beautification, or bikago, which literally means beautified speech.
Huh.
Bikago is the fashion of making words more beautiful or polite.
Acceptable.
Right.
Euphemism.
Exactly. So I guess we are trying to make juken more palatable for the wee ones and their parents.
Exam heck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think maybe that's what we're going for. So what does this mean? Young children typically attend a juku or a cram school several times a week, for which they have homework and practice exams.
Right.
So it's a lot. And you have to remember that, so they recommend that if you are going to try to get into a school, and a lot of kids will take these exams and not get in.
Yeah.
And then you just go to a different school.
Right.
But if you want to try to get in, they recommend that you start going to cram school at least a year before the exam.
And the exam in question is...
It'll be the fall before they turn 6. So they take this exam when they are 5, and they will start studying for it when they are either 4 or 5. This is how young these kids are. This is insane. I'm just saying.
But that's not... I know that you won't know the exact answer, but that hasn't been the practice since 1886.
No. This is more, has become more common in more recent years. I think from what I've read, sometime in the 90s, I think.
Huh.
I don't hold me to that 100%, but it more recently for sure.
So speculation from a person who does not live there and does not know what he's talking about, but it seems like you could see this. I mean, if it really did start in the 90s, do you think it's an effort to push back against the collapse of the economic bubble? Because
it could be,
because when you tell me that they take exams to get into, first grade, it's like, okay, well, it doesn't surprise me that they got out of the hole, the post-World War II hole they were in. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. They were never not going to make it. But when you say it started in the 90s, it's like, well, that's when the Depression started. So is this like, I don't know what's going on. Everybody just study even harder. Take an exam to get into first grade,
I think,
kid.
Well, I mean, I think everything has become more competitive.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And even in more recent years, there are more families that are trying to get their kids into these schools. Uh-huh. And these schools have limited amount of spots for each year.
Of course.
And thousands upon thousands.
You can't just walk into first grade.
I know. They get like thousands of candidates for like maybe 150 slots.
Jeez.
It's like insane. And I read one thing where it was like one parent was like, we did this with our eldest kid and we were like, this is kind of crazy. And we kind of decided we're not going to do this with our younger two.
Good to know that Japanese parents are just like American parents. First one, this is important. Next 100. Yeah.
Well,
you fell down the stairs.
Like,
fine.
Because they were like, well, I don't know if it necessarily makes them smarter. It just teaches
freaks them out,
and it teaches them how to take these tests and how to be more prepared to study for these tests. Yeah. And a lot of things that I read were talking about like this is a machine that kids get into, right? And parents spend a lot of money. The Japanese culture and the country spends a lot of money on this, and it's like, how do you get out of this, and is it really worth it? And the author's point was like, I don't know if it really makes smarter kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that we have the same problem here.
Yeah. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting. Participating in ojuken is somewhat of a taboo topic, especially for mothers. If they overemphasize their ojuken efforts or fail to properly hide them, they risk being labeled a so-called kyoiku mama, a woman obsessed with the education of her children, a Japanese version of the Chinese American tiger mom.
Or a helicopter parent type thing.
Yes, exactly. Each private elementary school organizes their own unique exam, but they typically include written, art, athletic, and behavioral components, and an interview. How would you like to interview a 5-year-old?
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, right, exactly.
In 6th grade?
I know. Can you please stop swinging your feet? Elementary school classes are large, generally between 30 and 40 students. Students are usually arranged into small work groups, which have both academic and disciplinary functions. Japanese schools, interestingly enough, have no janitors. As part of their education, every day, students clean the classrooms, halls, and yards of their school in these teams. Huh. So it's part of like learning discipline, but also working together as a team and taking pride in your school.
Yeah. But I mean, like, they got somebody on backup, right?
I don't know. I mean, they have to have somebody to like fix electrical problems and stuff like that, right?
Kids are getting electrocuted.
Right, but you're not going to see a Japanese person with a mop in a uniform and stuff like that. Anyways, so perhaps one of the biggest differences between Japanese and American elementary schools is the subject of moral education. Moral education, or morals, is a separate subject that has its own textbook and allotted time. This subject is not meant to teach right from wrong necessarily, but to promote discussion on moral dilemmas, how students would respond to a given situation. So, not something that we really study in American schools, not its own subject anyways.
Are they like role play or something?
Kind of, yeah. Like it's like you're given like a description of a situation, and then you're asked like, how would you respond? And
all right, you ordered a club sandwich and a sparkling water. If the waiter is really slow, now normally 20% is the tip that you give, but do you give him 10 as an instructive measure, or do you give them the full 20?
Well, I think it's...
Or do you give them nothing and then write on the receipt, should have been faster.
Oh my God,
Sayonara.
That's the worst. Yeah, right. Shame on your family. No, I'm just kidding. Children are expected to learn 1,026 kanji in elementary school, which is about half of the 2,136 that have been stipulated as being kanji needed for daily use. Kids have to learn not only the correct stroke order, but also the various readings that the kanji have. which, I mean, that makes sense. That's a big part of their reading. And because of that, there is a large amount of class time allotted for learning Japanese.
Seems like if you wanted to study Japanese as a Western, English speaker or whatever, picking up like a first grade Japanese book would probably be the way to go.
Yeah,
get these 1,000 characters in.
Right, exactly.
Here's your Dick and Jane book.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, Akira and Minako.
Yeah, sure. There you go. Most elementary schools do not require children to wear a school uniform. Where they are essential, many boys wear white shirts, shorts, trousers, and caps. Girls' uniforms might include a gray pleated skirt and white blouse. Occasionally, the sailor fuku is utilized for girls.
The ones that we saw in the episode, were those on point for the most part? They were
I think so.
Some Madeline level stuff. Those were advanced.
You do see a lot of, I think especially for... maybe it's more for the winter, but yeah, you do see a lot of the little jackets for little girls and jackets for boys as well. Yeah, it is kind of Madeline-esque. It is also typical for children to wear brightly colored caps to prevent traffic accidents. So basically, so you can see kids
just picturing a kid with a traffic cone on their head.
It's not a traffic cone.
Get your hat, honey. Be safe.
I know, right? So when I was in Japan, I saw a lot of small children in bright yellow hats and bright yellow backpacks. It was a very common sight, so we did see that quite a bit. Itadakimasu with Usagi. What did Usagi eat in this episode? No food in this episode yet again. So
yeah, we're not moving away from that, are we?
I certainly hope not. I mean, Usagi definitely eats a lot.
We watch Food Wars.
I know, right? Have to bring some of that back, some of that food porn back from Food Wars. Villain gauge, we rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. The Cardi in this episode is Gigaros. Gigaros is a play on both the Greek word gigas, which means giant, and Icarus from Greek mythology.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. That's that's a solid nod.
Right.
Not like a, oh my God, amazing. That's
right.
All right.
I see what you did there.
Okay.
Fun fact about Gigaros, according to an interview with Takuya Igarashi, one of the episode directors of Sailor Moon, Gigaros was the first Cardian that was designed out of the group of Cardians. So even though she was not the first to appear, she was the first one.
They had an idea.
Designed.
They're like, first up.
Yeah.
Blank sheet of paper.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
Right.
It feels designed.
Yeah.
It feels like an idea.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Both good and bad.
Okay. All right. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
For major arcana for the tarot cards.
Okay, so your insistence on doing the major arcana finally pays off in this episode.
Yeah.
Where there is a literal card with an angel on it. So
yeah.
I guess we're going with temperance.
Oh, I was actually going to... Judgment also often has an angel on it.
But there's a literal... there's a literal angel in the middle of the card.
Right. Okay. I'm just saying, I found Judgment also has an angel a lot of the time. So, okay, we can go with temperance. That's fine. Is there anything else about temperance that seems to fit?
But they're blowing a horn, and we already, if we're doing this on our own, we had people come and, like, I admit that a tree lady has nothing to do with an angel, but the dead rising is judgment, no matter what.
Okay.
Right?
I guess so.
But it's just standing. If you look at the card of the Cardian, it's literally an angel. Just it's an angel, and there's a sun. And then if you look at, well, I guess it's a crown and not a sun, but which is weird. But okay, all right.
We can go with temperance. That's fine. It's a dumb thing. All right.
so,
okay. Anyways,
so temperance in the tarot means balance generally in the tarot, and it's also like being knowing yourself as well.
Okay.
So it could be, again, I don't condone this practice that we're doing, but it could represent Minako's sense of self-assuredness in kind of leveling up in this episode.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I think that definitely.
Although
fits.
we're not at episode review yet, as far as like her arc in this episode, like she's just living her life. Do you know what I mean? It's Artie is the one that's giving us the oh boy, you know, she really needs to get with this thing. But it's not like at any point in the episode she's aware of her lack. It's just at some point she realizes, oh yeah, like kids do look up to me. I've got the confidence now to do it.
Right. Exactly.
Temperance.
And of course she says variations of her name, including Gigaru and,
Gigaru?
Yes. Her character design, she has light yellow skin.
It's Dragon Ball.
What? It's Dragon Ball, pretty much, right?
There are angels, I guess, Goku's an angel for a lot of Dragon Ball Z. They just have halos. They don't think they draw on a lot of Western stuff for the main characters, but
okay.
So there aren't any really like angels in Dragon Ball, but it's Dragon Ball hair. They got like pointy ears.
Well, and then,
they've got that kind of like angular face.
Yeah.
Like and then it goes, when it first shows up, it Gigaru.
Yeah. Well, and then we have like
designed.
We have like Minako. I know.
They let the new guy design this one. They're like, oh, that was the first one. We'll do the rest. We're gonna get sued.
Stick it somewhere in the middle. And then, do you think the Cardian design and then also Minako, like when she first powers up, the way that she like goes, was that like all a reference to Dragon Ball?
It's got. I mean, there's a lot of tropes in anime where you can find other people. You know, I'm sure Naruto powers up or something like that. But
you're more familiar with Dragon Ball than I am. Do you know, like, when about did Dragon Ball come out? Was it before this?
Around
80s. The same time? Okay, so the 80s. So yeah, I think that's what it is because it seems very Dragon Ball to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, I mean, but Dragon Ball Z though, this would have been around the same time.
Okay, because I thought one of them came out.
But the manga existed for years.
Yeah, for a long time.
Though, so.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fun. Nobody's mad. Nobody's going to sue anybody. But I think the influence.
It could be an homage.
The influence is there.
Yeah, exactly. She also has pointy ears, red eyes, bright green eyeshadow, big white feathery angel-like wings, and bright orange Dragon Ball hair that stands straight up, as well as a little pointy mullet in back.
Yeah, she's got which is a Dragon Ball too. That's totally Dragon Ball as well.
Yeah.
Also, just last Dragon Ball, I promise, last Dragon Ball reference, but Minako's attack is very similar to Piccolo's attack in the Dragon Ball anime, the Makanso Kapo, where he goes and he like charges up and puts his fingers out and like a beam comes out.
I wonder if that was an homage as well. I don't know.
Again, I think that their anime is wild and wonderful.
It is.
But there's probably a finite amount of tropes that you can draw.
Yeah,
from.
Okay. That's fair. That's totally fair. And her dress, like you said, is light blue and somewhat inspired by Grecian togas, very drapey. She has gold shoulder armor, 2 layers, a gold belt, gold long armbands, and black knee-high boots.
Yeah.
The coolest thing about Gigaru's are her wings, which are gigantic, which seems appropriate to her name.
They're Giga.
They're Giga. That's right. But other than that, I mean,
gigantic. Giga.
Giga? Do you think that's where it comes from?
Well, it's not gigantic.
No, it's not.
Although if I ever start a men's magazine, I'll call it gigantic.
Oh my god, that's amazing. I do love her hair too. But other than that, I don't really feel like she's got anything that's super special. So I'm going to give her 2 out of 5 dark stars.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give it 3.
Okay.
I think that there's, again, like I like strong Yoma.
Yeah.
I hope that this is a one-off going after kids because this opens up a whole new door. I don't like this. But
it's not a great direction.
No, it's let's not toy with that too much.
Yeah.
But like strong, threatening, solid design. Here's that nod again.
Yeah, right.
Solid design, but not super creative or out there, especially with the derivative Greek and Dragon Ball derivative things that we've talked about.
Right.
So I got it. 3.
Okay, I think that's fair. For Sabu or Dabu, where we talk about the most interesting differences between the sub and the dub. In the dub, Gigarus's name was changed to Vulturus, like vulture us.
That doesn't even...
I don't even know. She doesn't look like a vulture.
Confuses it so much more.
I agree.
And it's not even, how do you say it? Vulturus?
Vulturus, maybe? Yeah. Anyways.
Deke. Bunch of Deke heads.
I know, right? In the dub, Mie Sayama's name was changed to Carrie with no last name given. In the dub, the scene where Minako squeezes Artemis in her sleep, making it hard for him to breathe, was cut. In the dub, the scene where Minako and Artemis jump in the air while they are running to school and Minako lands on top of Artemis was cut. I mean, there was also a panty shot in the scene, so that's probably at least part of it. Also, abuse to animals, I guess.
It's like the show. What you've described is like the manga seems to be more comfortable with the kind of tropes of like, oh, this boy, he's a lech. Even if he's not a lech, sometimes the boy is a lech, but sometimes he's in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's still like, oh, this you rascal. Oh,
I know.
And like the anime doesn't seem to be really doing that too much, but they kind of preserved a little bit of that here.
I guess to be fair, I should say that I don't think that Sailor V was translated into English until more recently. At the very least, I didn't read it until the more recent translation.
Okay.
So it is possible that by the time I read the translation, they had made the choice, let's keep it in there. Okay. You know what I mean? Let's not change the dialogue. So that is a possibility.
I guess.
In the dub, the initial pan from Usagi's feet to her head as she stands in the hallway with a sign that says, "I'm always late for school," and a bucket of water is cut. So we do not initially see the sign or the bucket. However, both items are seen later in the scene from a different angle. And this is, again, I think just to get rid of the Japanese writing.
That's how it's like.
It's just like sloppy deek.
Yeah. It's just a sloppy deek. But it reminds me of, here's a plug. There's a comedy show on Netflix called Auntie Donna's Big Old House of Fun.
Yes.
Which, I don't know if I can recommend it to everybody, but I find it hilarious.
It's very
they're
funny.
doing a TV show thing at one point, and they're doing a Family Feud, like pastiche. And it's Netflix, so they can say whatever they want, but the host is getting more and more frustrated with the contestants.
Yep.
And he starts like yelling like the F word, but like he'll say the F word and the beep will come like 2 seconds later in the middle of something else. Like whoever's doing the censoring is not paying attention. So it's like, I don't know what this effing thing's beep. So it reminds me of like you could have, Memorial gets, stabbed through the chest or something like that. And they cut that part out. But then later Usagi's like, I must defeat Beryl, and stands up and there's like just like huge like sword coming out of Memorial's chest with blood all over
exactly.
it.
I know. It happens a lot.
Watch Auntie Donna.
Yeah. In the dub, Venus's crescent beam attack was changed to Venus Crescent Beam Smash. For some reason, in this episode, the first time she does this attack, it was changed to Venus Crescent Beam Crash. So to reiterate, all the rest of the times, it was Venus Crescent Beam Smash, and then it was once in this episode was Venus Crescent Beam Crash, and then, they changed it.
Huh.
In the original, Venus's new attack, called Crescent Beam Shower. In the dub, this was changed to Venus Meteor Shower.
I mean, at least that makes a little more sense.
I guess. So, I don't know. Take from that what you will.
Stars are kind of her like motif, and
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now we're up to our rating. I like that we get another Minako episode, and that it's a Minako Usagi episode, and that Minako
jam.
Gets a Minako Usagi jam, and that Minako gets a power up. I think that's awesome. I also think that her relationship with Mie is really sweet and endearing. And overall pretty positive, and that she stands up to bullies. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 roses.
I think 3 is totally fair, although I'm gonna go 4.
Really?
There's a lot of character. That's really what I like the most in episodes. There are, like, we've talked about the things that I don't think make sense. necessarily in the episode. We never even wrapped up our talk about Sailor Moon. People remember Sailor Moon or not. We'll definitely talk about it in the future, but here's my quick take. I think that people remember, everybody but the sailors remember the sailors.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
So they still exist in the world. People are probably asking themselves where they went, after they, I don't know if they know that they saved the world, but they stopped some crime and some yomas and now they're gone. But you'd think that, I guess we don't focus in on it, but you'd think that the girls would hear about the Sailor Scouts and go, did I miss that? Weird.
Right.
Or maybe boy, this is a powerful crystal, this silver crystal. Maybe their knowledge of being the Sailor Scouts was replaced with knowledge of the existence of the Sailor Scouts. So they're like, oh yeah, Sailor Moon, yeah, she's all right. The thing is that I'm spinning in place going crazy, trying to explain something that the show never even thought to explain, which I think is weird.
But if that's true, in the second episode this season, when the Senshi don't have their memories back yet, but they see Sailor Moon transformed, they're like, who is that? They have no idea who she is.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully,
I don't know either.
Maybe the answer will become more clear as we go on. I doubt it. So yeah, love a Sailor Venus episode. This isn't as good as Sailor Venus's past, Minako's Tragic Love.
Yes, that one's a really good one.
Although her episodes involve child endangerment, don't they?
So far.
2 out of 2.
2 out of 2.
Some good superhero stuff in this. There's sort of an escalation of the threat that the bad guys are going after kids. Venus getting a new power is cool. Although I wish that they had advanced her story more than her powers. I guess we got to get more powers, but like she's really stuck on Alan still.
I totally get what you're saying. I think I would have liked to have seen them advance her story more as well. Like I'd like to know more about Venus. I'd like to know more about her as
Or V.
Yeah, exactly. Like she had a whole year as Sailor V, which we don't really know a whole lot about.
Yeah, her first story was so personal, and this is personal in some way, but it's more just an Usagi Minako jam, basically. So, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is why it's got a 4.
Right.
It's also a little predictable.
Yeah.
Hence the sticker that I now own. Kind of got where it was going. And it's a little disjointed.
It is.
But, otherwise, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Always like a Venus episode. So, yeah, I got to go 4.
All right. Awesome. My English title is Minako's Protection, Believing is Power.
Believing is Power. That's a pretty good one. Mine Deke title is, Deke would never do this, but yes, Mie, there really is a Sailor Moon.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Next episode, we are talking about episode number 53. Mamoru to Usagi no Babysitta Sodo in Japanese. Mamoru and Usagi's Babysitting Mayhem, the English translation, and the English title, Much Ado About Babysitting.
They already did a Much Ado, didn't they?
I think there is a Super S episode with Much Ado in the title. So this is the first time we've seen it.
Yeah, I'd say they don't get paid enough, but maybe if you paid them a little more, they would work a little harder.
Right.
But then we wouldn't have them as a punching bag. We're a Japanese pre-K kid. You got to find that first day. You find that punching bag.
I know.
Kick somebody's butt the first day. Before we take off, I want to remind people about our Instagram, which is up and running, where we have just fun stuff, but also we've got all the fashion looks from the episode and related memes that we share, that we create, like the one that Mika's going to turn around and look at, and the audience isn't going to see, but she's going to laugh a lot. And then that'll be a little tease. Go to our Instagram and see the fashion looks and see the memes and have a good time. That's at Instagram.com/noob_sailor.
That's right.
Because somebody else is Sailor Noob.
I know, right?
Let's buy them out.
We should.
All right, we'll work on that.
Well, that's our show for this week. In the Name of the Moon, we'll be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.
Stranger Danger!